I'm going to talk a little bit around the Toy Story. And I had a discussion with my students yesterday about this because I had the lucky opportunity of having the 2-minute elevator speech. If you all are familiar with what that is. When you get in an elevator, sometimes you have somebody as a captive audience. Well, about 8 years ago, I had that captive audience, but I was with a 2-year-old. I was with Drew, my littlest, and I'm standing in an elevator at the Seattle Music Experience. Now, the thought of taking a 2-year-old through the Seattle Music Experience was, well, not the most enjoyable thing for the day, but Dad was real excited. The other 2 boys were really thrilled. And so we all get in the elevator, and Drew's bouncing around trying to hit the red button, which we as mothers all are like, stand back from the red button. And here's this man standing next to me, and he is in a Woody shirt. And my husband starts jumping back and forth, one foot to the other. And he's like, hey, I think that's him. And of course, I'm like, him? Who's him? Well, it was John Lasseter. And what an amazing experience to have, at that point, 1 minute and about 20 seconds, to speak to Lasseter about what he felt Toy Story meant to all of us. Well, I had the enjoying and engaging experience of being with 58 other educators last week to talk about what our mission is in education this year for Teachers of the Year. And we decided that our logo is TOY, Toy Story. And that we'd be talking across the nation about what it means to be passionate about education and what it means to live our profession. And that's what I want to talk about today. And this is really new for me, because usually when I'm at Teacher Librarian Days, I'm up here talking about something that has to do with primary sources. And I'm going to be referencing that this morning, but usually it's a lesson or a strategy or inquiry-based activities that you can use in the classroom. But today, I'd actually like to step away from that and start off with this guy. And I don't know if you know this guy from Toy Story 1. He usually walks in and says, howdy, 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 right? My kids could tell you that line. They could tell you exactly what that line meant to them, because he's imitating Woody in the toy chest as they're getting packed up and starting a new journey in their life. And today, hopefully, it's going to be a journey for you. As you walk through all of the experiences and the stories of the people who are here, I hope that you think about what it means to create your own journey. But at the same time, what it means to create a journey for your students through inquiry. What it means in the use of primary sources, what it means in the use of engaging strategies for your students in the classroom, because that's really what we're all about. We're not just about book learning. We're not just about our content. We're about all content areas. And that's something we need to remember. In an age where we're talking about the importance of one content against another, the importance of testing certain contents against other certain contents, it's really critical for us to look at the whole picture. And when I first stepped out of college, I had a choice to make, because I graduated from a small university in Virginia, Mary Washington, and I had a degree. And my degree was, well, I had several majors. My degree was in education and preservation. And I had to make a choice. Where was I going to move with that? Was I going to be a teacher? Was I going to be a preservationist? I had already been working at the Smithsonian Institution and had been working with the National Park Service, but I decided that really it was my job to take that love of learning right back into the classroom. And so I walked into education, much to my father's chagrin, because my first teaching job, some of you all can totally understand this, was for a whopping $12,500 a year. So my father's like, that is less than I paid for 1 year of college. What are you thinking? So my mom and dad are having panic mode because they don't know how I'm going to live. They don't know how I'm going to survive. But I got the joy and pleasure of working with 13 young men in a 5th grade classroom and starting on my journey as an educator. Well, throughout Toy Story, we've got a lot of people that play a role in our journey. And if you were to walk into my classroom, this guy, Mr. Potato Head, he's actually up here with me today too. I've got a whole stack of them, probably, I think, 35 now. And it's actually become kind of a classroom joke. And because the kids are all out to see which potato head can we find that Miss Pearson doesn't have. I mean, we have got Darth Tater. We have got the Spud Troopers. We have the one that is from Indiana Jones. We have a little bit of everything. But what Potato Head says to me is that we have every child, and every child changes every day. Just as we rearrange the pieces on Potato Head, our children change the moment they come in our classroom and the moment they leave. And the way they are on Monday may not be the way they are on Friday. And it's up to us to engage them and to make them change and grow throughout this time in their lives. Now, I get the lucky job of being a middle school teacher. We all know that teachers are a certain breed, right? We all teach our level of kids. Well, the thought of having kindergartners is enough to make me quit teaching. I love them. I had them for 12 years in inner city Denver and loved my 30 minutes with them every single day. But at 32 minutes, I was ready to have the first graders. And at 64 minutes, I was ready to have the second graders. And that's kind of how my day proceeded. But now I get middle schoolers, and some would say they're a lot like kindergartners. And I know that somebody who's speaking today, actually right after me, knows that I've said that in my classroom. You guys are nuts. But you know what? That's what makes us come alive, is living that. And Potato Head's kind of nuts. How many of you guys remember Potato Head in the movie? Right? Okay, sometimes optimist, sometimes pessimist. He's a little bit of both sides. I can think right now that one of the most famous scenes, and I can't do it because it's not really professional to be on here on the stage, is when he pulls out his lips, and what does he do with it? He says, yeah, really? And then he uses his lips to really tell Woody what he thinks. Okay? Well, our kids tell us what they think every day. It may be through their writing, through engaging us in their conversation. But there's also other characters that play a role in this too. How about this little guy? He's a nice, happy guy who thinks the claw is the end-all being. And we as teachers sometimes have those students that say, oh, the teacher. But really, it shouldn't be about, oh, the teacher. It should be about, oh, the learning. And that's what's really cool about being a teacher. And then we've got Rex. And Rex, well, when I asked my students yesterday, I said, help me out here. What do you think about Rex? They all said, oh, he's insecure. I'm thinking, insecure. I don't know if in 8th grade I would have ever said to my teacher, oh yeah, he's insecure. But you know what? Our kids are changing. They're digital citizens. They are learning more than they have ever before. Their vocabulary is exponentially different than what we had when we were in school. How many of you guys agree with that? They have changed. But they are also digital citizens. We cannot ask our students to walk into our classroom and put away the knowledge that they have gotten outside of the classroom to come into the classroom and learn the way we want them to learn. And that's really the power of primary sources. Because we can take a primary source and we can engage them in that conversation and we can say, this is about you. And that's Buzz. He's all about him. Right? He lands in Toy Story and he says, oh, I'm Buzz Lightyear. I'm going to save the universe, until Zord shows up in Toy Story 2. And we've got a little bit of Buzz in all of us. But I think we also have a little bit of Woody. Because Woody's that calm factor. He's that person who's going to take and make things work. And yes, all of these characters have their up and down moments, just as we do as teachers. But we need to step over that. Because our attitude, our life, our passion in our classroom is directly reflected in our students. I'd like to share a story that happened actually just yesterday, and it was a huge surprise. I had a group of students down on Capitol Hill on Friday, and we were lobbying with preservation education initiatives, and I'm pretty passionate about social studies, and so are a lot of my kids. And we were down working with several of the senators on the House floor, and the senators were talking to them. And yesterday I received this email. The email comes out of the blue, and it happens to be from the assistant city manager of Broomfield. I'm like, why is he calling me? Something's wrong with the Vets Museum. We work with the Vets Museum. I said, alarm got set off, or something's missing, or something's weird. But no, he happened to be on a ski lift. And the ski lift happened to have 2 children on it with him. And those 2 young ladies met him on this ski lift, Mary Jane, and started talking about the work they did on Friday. And started talking about the primary sources that they were using at the Vets Museum. And started talking about why they believe that engaging students in inquiry in the classroom really makes a difference. And they use that word, and they should use that word, because it's not just about the objective and the standard. What it is about asking the questions. So they engaged in this. He emailed me and he said, Michelle, I met 2 of your students on a chairlift. And they talked to me all the way up the hill about how they loved working with people in their community, about how they loved what they're doing in the classroom. And he said, I really got it, but I thought that the work you all were doing was really about service learning. I realized today as I got off the lift, it was about making kids ask the questions. And so today I ask a question for you. We all have our stories as educators, why we became an educator, why we continue to educate in an era with budget cuts, in an era where we don't have everything we need. But you know what? We do it because we love it. So today, as you walk through all of the presentations, let's ask this. What's your story? What will you take away? And what will you give your kids? And to remind you of that, Potato Head's going to sit here today, and I'd like to just ask, what's your story? Think about that, and thank you. Be passionate about what you do. I represent all of us, and you all are Teachers of the Year every day in your classroom. Thank you.